We got Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. We got the early access copy. I'm going to break it all the way down for you guys. I was going to share the top 10 ideas, but as I'm diving through this thing, doing a deep dive, I couldn't do just 10. I mean, come on, it's dragons. We also got the alternate cover right here. All of it looks sweet. Who doesn't love dragons? But I have 12 different things that we're going to be diving into, and the 12th one might be the most impressive thing that I've ever seen come out of Wizards of the Coast. As I'm flipping through the book here, I think my jaw dropped. It was super awesome. This is not me just saying it. I love dragons, so you're probably going to pick up on a lot of that as well. I've been really looking forward to this book, so I'm going to give you guys a homebrew DM's thoughts on different things that has sparked my own inspiration of what I'm going to do, take and run with and add into my games, or create entire campaigns around dragons. So let's go. The first thing comes before even chapter 1 in the book, and it's Dragon Sight. I always thought Dragon Sight to be like true sight or see invisibility, some sort of like vision that the dragons have. So here's what the book says on Dragon Sight. It is an awareness of multiple incarnations of themselves across different worlds in the material plane. Whoa, now that's crazy. Multiple iterations, and further on in the book they call them echoes of themselves across multiple versions of the material plane. So we're talking multiverse type stuff. So this is the vision of oneself is Dragon Sight. Now, whoa, okay, so instant timeout homebrew moment for myself. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh wow, that's a little out there. I don't know if that really hits hard for me. Now again, I'll save my thoughts on the overall thing, and this might, I don't want to start off with a negative, but that doesn't really hit it for me as far as Dragon Sight, what I think of it to be. I picture my homebrew spin on Dragon Sight would be, yes, you can have true sight for dragons, and as they get older and more powerful, you can have them see invisibility and then literally anything. Tremor sense if they're a burrowing type dragon. That the book actually goes into a lot of the different stuff having to do with their actual sight capabilities. I see Dragon Sight as almost like a scrying type of omniscience, specifically within their domain, specifically within their region, and the book also goes into regional effects, which I think also ties into dragons. Their dragon's Hoard is very iconic for dragons. So I think the Dragon Sight would be being able to see other parts from where you're not at, and they're so powerful they start to gain semi-omniscience across their region and their Hoard, so that if they're not at their Hoard, they can still see their Hoard. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to dive into a dragon that has Dragon Sight if it's gotten to that power level, because all dragons, and again, this is all part of some cool stuff here from digging things up. So that's also part of the beautiful homebrew of this. From reading this book, it has helped me. I already had some pretty solid dragon lore locked up in here, but this just really brought it to the surface, and I feel so much better about everything I know about dragons in my own interpretations, as I'm showing right now with Dragon Sight. Every dragon has the potential, the latent, dormant power to be able to have Dragon Sight, and as they get older and stuff, as they collect more and do all these things, they get more powerful. So there's my spin on Dragon Sight, instead of this multi-dimensional view of yourself, and then you can interact with yourself from other. Too much for me. For my number 2, we're going to go into chapter 1 now of character creation. We got the Dragonborns. Ooh, we got crystal gem dragons. We got chromatic dragons. And on the next page, you got metallic dragons. The coolest thing I like here in my little notes here is the changes to breath weapon. They just basically upgraded Dragonborns, or I wouldn't say necessarily updated. And in my opinion, would be an upgrade. One of the things that I felt Dragonborns have always been one of my favorites, and I feel like they were kind of weak as far as a race to choose overall with the different features that they get. So with these 3 different types, all of them as a base change to Dragonborns, instead of their breath weapon being just one-time use and then you get it back and it's 3d6, it is now proficiency bonus times per long rest. So I like the long rest reset better, and then the short rest reset that I think it was, and it's a 1d10 that scales up to 4d10 now. So I think in general scaling, get it? I think scaling is just always going to be better like that. And 1d10 going to 4d10, eventually it'll be more damage. You can do it more often. Overall, I just think it feels better. And then some really cool things where it matters what kind of Dragonborn you are. Chromatic dragons get an ability 1 minute to be able to be immune to whatever type of thing they're resistant to. So if they are resistant to fire normally, they can change that to immunity on a long rest. That's super cool. Gem dragons get a little bit of a psionic mind, telepathy 30 feet. So again, I haven't really messed around with a lot of gem dragons before. So if the lore of it that they're diving into is telepathy and the gems are telepathy, okay, cool, sweet, I see it. And the draconic feet is also has to do with that a little bit. And then there's gem flight, which I feel like, I don't know, this part, you know, y'all might know how I feel about giving players fly speed, but at least you get 1 minute of flying and then you're able to have these spectral wings come out of your back. I don't know. I feel like maybe all Dragonborns could do that. Why does it have to just be the gem dragons? I feel like maybe they're missing a little something and they went with the psionic mind telepathy thing, 30 feet, and they're like, let's let them fly. So I don't know. I feel like this should kind of be an all dragon thing. Personally, my Dragonborns, some of them have wings, some of them have tails. That's a whole nother thing that I could dive into about my lore on Dragonborns. But the metallic dragons, the third ones, they have their breath weapon at level 5. You can replace one of your attack actions with a breath attack, which I think is really cool. Not all the time. It's, I think, once per long rest. But you can have your breath weapon incapacitate or push them back 20 feet and knock them prone. So it's some cool breath weapon stuff. I think it's an awesome little quality of life fix to these Dragonborns. And if you want to give bonus level up perks, I always do that at my table. If a player really likes this idea of attacking and breath, attack and breath, then start to give them more uses, more options to be able to kind of weave in that flavor of their attack and breath weapon in this Dragonborn that they want to be. Timeout. Okay, now here's my biggest criticism of this book. I love dragons, and I'll get into my favorite parts of the book here in a minute. And if you can't tell, I'm already excited about this thing. But the subclasses. There were only 2 subclasses, one for a monk and one for a ranger. Now, the ranger did give a cool Drake companion, a draconic companion. I think that was really awesome. But I mean, you can do dragons for every single class. Come on. I know there's a purple dragon knight paladin or something, which again, or maybe it's a fighter. I don't know. I should know because it's a purple dragon. Come on. That's like so on brand for me. But that there's only 2. Felt a little light for me. Myself personally, I think they could go all 13 dragon flavored classes. That's what I would like to do. So if this video gets over 2,000 likes, these is early access videos for Fizbans. The last one for Wild Beyond the Witchlight did pretty well, and so if you guys like to see these, let me know. But if this video gets over 2,000 likes, I will do in my next round of PDF releases and subclass releases and other stuff, I'll do a big old dragon themed and truly do each of the 13 subclasses and get a dragon version in there and do a whole thing on dragons and really just run with it for an entire month's theme. That'd be super awesome. And while you're at it, leave a comment down below to let me know what other things you would like to see dragons that I have not covered in this video, or maybe Fizbans hasn't covered once the book releases. It releases in 2 days, by the way. So also check out the description. I'm going to have an Amazon affiliate link down there if y'all want to help out with that. And I'm going to have my Patreon link down there with 5 to 10 different pages of completely free access to all my Patreon PDF stuff. And if you want to check out Patreon, of course, it's down there too. So now let's dive back into Fizbans. Number 3 is dragon linked characters. Characters and giving them character ties is what this table is talking about. It gives character ties to people who want to be tied to a dragon in some way through their backstory. I'm going to pick a random one. 5. I use my class features to take on draconic characteristics. Ooh, interesting. Maybe you're a barbarian's rage and they gain some sort of scales or spikes or claws or wings or something. And maybe you give them some sort of fly speed later on, or they can spend a rage charge to start flying. I'm going off the homebrew deep end, but you get the idea. I think that's super awesome. And in the same draconic inspiration, there's 3 draconic feats, one for each of the chromatic, gem, and metallic kinds of dragons, all of which are really awesome. One of the chromatic one lets you be able to have a D4. It's called Chromatic Infusion. As a bonus action, you can touch a simple or martial weapon and infuse it with the following damage type, whatever your type of dragon is, and you get 1d4 on the chosen weapon type. And in the same feat here, when you take acid or whatever that same type of damage type is, you can spend a reaction to grant resistance to it at a proficiency bonus number of times, resetting on a long rest. So you get an offensive thing based on this dragon type and a defensive thing based on the dragon type. Super awesome feat. Lots of really cool stuff there. I think they also did a good job overall with these different tables. There's a lot. These tables are sprinkled all throughout the book in all these different parts to really let you be able to take your dragon character or your actual dragon, which we'll get to in a second, and really run run with it and make it your own. My fourth one here brings us into chapter 2, Dragon Magic. And you got a bunch of different spells. There were 7 new draconic spells and 13 new dragon themed magic items. One of the spells I think fit really well is Rhyme's Binding Ice, which is a 30-foot cone instead of cone of cold. And it says a little bit of cold damage and slows them down. So it's like a baby cone of cold. It's a 2nd level spell. I thought that was really nice. And I mean, check out the art on that. Come on. Super cool. Anyway, then there are those 13 other normal magic items, but then this next section, Hoard magic items, is my number 5 here. Hoard magic items are something I've never thought of. It's very interesting. It has 4 different stages, kind of like they've done before. And I do this a lot with my magic items, where it has a certain state, a dormant state, and then you can, exalt it, or it can grow and ascend and gain powers and stuff. I think that's a really cool thing to do with magic items, so that you're not afraid to give a character too strong of a magic item. Okay, well, just dull that magic item down and then let them power it up at some point later. That's another random homebrew tip here. If there's a magic item you feel like is too powerful to give your players where they currently are, okay, just scale down some things about it. Instead of a dominate person, it's a charm person. I don't know. I give them weaker versions of it that can then upgrade over time, which is what these Hoard magic items do. It's magic items that get more powerful as they stay inside of this dragon's lair. There's a slumbering, then stirring, then wakened, then ascendant. And each of these items, there's a couple items in here, they change based on how high up the ladder they are, how long they've been in this dragon's lair, gaining power just from being around such a powerful creature. I think that concept alone is an awesome mechanic to give to the magic items inside of a dragon's hoard. I thought that was amazing. And a couple of these items have a chromatic, gem, and metallic versions of the same item based on what dragon's been around there. I think that is just absolute brilliant right there. That's one of my, I would say my top, I think I have this as my top 3 favorite things. That was awesome. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, hold on, let me take some notes. This is really cool. Which in the very next page leads to the Draconic Gifts. These are one of my top 3 favorites as well. Right after that, I was like, this is right here is when I was like, this book is pretty amazing, right? So don't want to give spoilers on my 1 through 5 rating that I'm gonna give this thing, but yeah, so Draconic Gifts are gifts that a dragon can bestow on someone, whether it's someone following them, whether it's someone that they just truly respect, or they're trying to help the dragon in some way. So he wants to make them stronger to be able to accomplish the dragon's goals. Or if you kill a dragon, part of his magical essence, and this is other parts that in the book that also went into kind of like this dragon's energy is just around it. It's affecting the environment around it. It's affecting the magic items in its own hoard, making them stronger. And if you kill a dragon, some of its essence goes into you, making you stronger. So these draconic gifts or draconic boons, there's a bunch of these different ones that you can have to give your players that kill a dragon, or maybe the person that lands a killing blow gets even more imbued with it. I don't know. And some cool mechanics that you can give when a dragon dies, or when a dragon can grant a boon, and maybe it's a good dragon that's helping out the party. Another thing you can easily replace this with, the book also talks about, is feats. It's just a great moment, or hey, bonus level up perks. It's a great moment for a dragon to be able to give the party something. In my campaign that I'm running on my second channel, the second channel is always going to be linked down in the description, but in my second channel, they just encountered an ancient green dragon at level 3, and it granted each of them, or it had the opportunity for each of them to get a boon of some kind, but some of them didn't trust the dragon and they didn't get it, or they got a weaker version of it. It was a really cool thing to be able to give, which I actually accidentally was doing dragon gifts before I even got this book. Number 7 here brings us into chapter 3, Dragons in Play. My number 7 is all the customization options you have for dragons. You have a table for the dragon's appearance, different dragon characteristics, dragon mannerisms. There's a D20 table on dragon mannerisms. I'm gonna pick a random one. Slowly and constantly fans its wings. How intimidating could that be, right? This dragon just constantly like flapping, and the wind passes through them, showing its power just by completely being still and just big, powerful wing flaps. How freaking cool is that? And to go even further with this dragon personality stuff, you have dragon bonds, dragon flaws and secrets. All of this stuff is so cool. The next time I throw any dragon in here, I'm gonna start diving through some of this, and I'm gonna go to Fizbans and be like, ooh, hold up. Let me throw some spice into this thing. Dragon name elements. I love dragon name element charts like this, where how many times have we looked up a dragon? How many times have we gone on there and looked up dragon names, right? This is you can just start to mix and match them. I'm gonna make up one right now. Irguth, Jarguth. Done, right? There was 2 different parts from 2 different places. The first one didn't really work out, but the second one, Jarguth. I'll take it. That's a cool dragon name. Guthjar. Ooh, maybe. Anyway, so all the customizing dragons parts, languages, skills, spells, traits, shape change. There's a whole section that goes into shape shifting and how the dragons work with that. Damage absorption, flyby, rejuvenation, special senses, tunneling. There's a lot of different stuff here. Now, I have taken this and ran with it in my own monster stuff. I'm actually doing right now. I'm doing a big overhaul on my Apex Action monsters. There'll be a whole system releasing here in a little bit that I have for that. That's going to take this and really, really run with it that I've already been working on for a while. But stay tuned for that. That is really cool to see them customize dragons in this book and be so open to saying that each red dragon can be very different than the next red dragon. It doesn't have to always be the same. And this is further inspiring people to take these stat blocks and run with them. And before I get into the next one, there's also dragon goals. Like, the goals for a character are super important. I preach on that all the time. Goals for a dragon, that is awesome. Here we go. I'm going to throw out a young dragon goal. They have goals for young, adult, wormling, and ancient dragons. So acquire magical wards to help protect their lair, because they're just a young dragon. They're working on their lair. They don't have a lot of means, so they're trying to be able to. That's so cool. Like, that's what the young dragon's doing, is they're trying to get some sort of magical protection for their lair because they're not that strong yet. Super awesome. Love it. Next one, number 8, is the birth and death of dragons. There's there's this perfect picture of a gem dragon, an amethyst dragon there that these miners had, and whenever the dragon dies, it collected itself. Origin of dragon eggs. One of them's rejuvenation. An ancient dragon voluntarily enters a deep trance and eventually dies, leaving behind a single egg. Like, that's what I'm talking about. The cycle of life of these dragons, and actually showing DMs how to be different iterations of how they can run it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I had already beforehand, but this just gives different variations. Instead of just, this is the way the dragons live and die, there's a bunch of different versions in here, and then entire sections on death of dragons. And then you got some Draco Liches. I mean, how can you miss Draco Liches? You got to put that in there. The regional reversal effects of how the dragon has been, the area around itself, how it was changed, which already talks in the book about different cool effects you can have, which we'll get to in a second, and those effects reversing over time once the dragon's no longer there. Now we're getting into number 9. They also have a bunch of different stuff on dragon organizations, dragon cults, different groups and followers of dragons. That's another cool thing that they do have in here. But now, number 9 is Hidecarved Wards. Look at this dragon. See that dragon? It has freaking glowing scales. It has glowing scales on it because they have this whole thing also about the groups of dragons pairing together to go to a common goal. They're called something. One second. Dragons can gather in small communities of 3 to 5 called Lauths, right? Lauths. Lauths. That's maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it's really cool to think of dragons coordinating together, coming together to have one goal. That's a scary thing, to have a conclave of dragons come together to be able to go towards their goals. But part of the things that they do in combining their power, and you can even do this at part. You can have individual dragons do this, take it and run with it. But their scales can get these glyphs and runes on their scales that have certain magical properties that give them bonuses. Maybe they're immune to being able to the polymorph spell. There's some other things that goes into different damage type immunities. Lots of different stuff that you can give these dragons runes on their body, so that then when the players encounter some massive ancient dragon, maybe it has all these runes all over it. Maybe that dragon we talked about earlier that was trying to look for wards for its lair, instead is looking for wards for its scales, to be able to enchant its own scaly body with these different effects to give it even more power than maybe it should have yet. The dragon's too impatient to grow up and get more powerful, wants the power now. The next thing, and this is number 10 now, is dragon campaigns, dragon adventures, and dragon encounters. They have it all covered. It was honestly impressive. These dragon encounters, this is probably one of my favorite tables here. I put a huge star next to this thing. Dragon encounter complications. It's a D20 table of dragon encounter complications, right? I'm going to pick a random one. Again, I haven't read through all these because I was like, oh my gosh, I read a couple of them. I'm going to try and pick a different random one. Okay, 16. The dragon's only goal is to learn a key piece of information about the character's larger goals and then escape. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, it doesn't have to be a knockdown, drag out fight where the dragon's just like smashing on the players and the players are trying to kill it and that's all it is. You're talking, you're role playing as the dragon, weaving in between, after each player's turn, talking to them, trying to get them to speak. If they don't speak, you attack that player. And now the whole thing, I would love to play that. I want to play that right now. That's so cool. This little curveball. And as soon as he has what he wants, as soon as the dragon knows what he wants, he's out of there because he has to go do something with that. The players at your game might know a lot of really big lore stuff, and that's all the dragon cares about. Oh, and then he's gone. That's so cool. And then there's Dragon Adventures, entire tips on running a dragon as a monster, dragon as a schemer, dragon as a powerhouse, dragon campaigns. It's not only adventures, not only encounters, it goes to the big full macro scale of campaigns. And they have campaign events, rise and fall of a leader of the era, cataclysmic disaster, discovery, expansion, and invention. Different ways you can have an entire campaign run around dragons. And oh my god, does that sound amazing for me? I want to be a player in that world. I want to make it myself as a dungeon master. As you can tell, I like dragons a lot. For number 11 here, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. It's in the entire chapter 4 section of Lairs and Hoards. There's Fizban himself, right, with a dragon in the background. So it's really cool to see. And first of all, layer actions are super important to give to these big bad monsters. Layer actions should be used all the time in that regard. But Lairs and Hoards, a dragon's hoard, a dragon's lair, like that is so huge for dragons. It has so many different tables. Layer location, different sparks to be able to give to what kind of, there's a tree. I'm not reading it right now, but one of the things that stuck with me is a world tree, some sort of ancient tree, and there's a dragon that's layers inside of it. Super awesome. Different regional effects. There's an entire thing here of dragon magic, changes to the creatures in the area, planar connections to the different planes that are starting to affect. Maybe a red dragon has a strong connection to the fire plane, and planes of the fire plane start to open up around him. Terrain changes, weather changes, water changes, lots of different changes around here. Layer actions is another cool thing. They have a little bit of recommendations. Not a lot. Right now, I'm saying this because I have an entire monster document that has tons of layer actions, but it was really cool to see some cool little tips to throw out there to give more spicy layer actions than just the standard ones that's in the monster stat blocks and stuff. Dragon Hoards, how much recommendation sizes for different sizes of Dragon's Hoard based on their age, how to make a Dragon's Hoard, which is going to be in the Dungeon Master's Guide too. You can roll in a bunch of tables or just throw a bunch of homebrew magic items in there, which is normally what I do. But they have entire things that are, look, this entire chart is just Hoard, make a dragon's hoard. So much cool stuff in there to be able to make your dragon's hoard truly be worthy of the dragon of whatever it is you're going to put in your game. But now, guys, we are at number 12, the most impressive thing in this book. I literally, when I'm flipping through this book, I turned the pages and I was like, no way. There's no way that this is true for every single type of dragon. Here, I'm going to see if maybe you guys can follow along with me. Number 5 is the Draconomicon, which, oh man, I was like, oh, cool, sweet. Next page you turn is Amethyst. Amethyst dragons. Look at all these tables. Look at all these tables. Tables for days for Amethyst dragons. You have creating an Amethyst dragon. There's personality traits, a D8 table for personality traits for an Amethyst specific dragon. Amethyst dragon ideals, Amethyst dragon adventure hooks for specifically that kind of dragon. Wormling connections, young dragon connections, adult dragon connections, and ancient amethyst, all specifically for amethyst, different connections of how their motives, their goals, or what's going on. How can you put them into your world? How can you tie them into your world with the adventure hooks or the connections? And then a map of an amethyst dragon's lair. I was not expecting to get maps in this book on top of Amethyst Dragon Lair. Amethyst Dragon Lair features entrance, main cave, glowing shards, chimneys, upper caves. It goes in through the entire thing. Amethyst Dragon treasures. There's art objects that are inside the thing with the Amethyst Dragon. That, everything I just said, is for every type of dragon in this book. Because I turned the next page and this is when I was like, wait a second, Black Dragon. And we are in the same thing. We're in the Black Dragon and we have the Black Dragon's lair. Like, this is crazy. I did not expect this, Wizards. Props to you. And I Blue Dragons. It just keeps going through every single type of dragon. You are so set. You are so set to make any kind of dragon. I have made dragons many, many, many times, and this is going to do nothing but elevate them to an entire. Now there's copper dragons. Copper dragon. Never ran a copper dragon, but here's a layer for a copper dragon. Personality traits. I want to dive into these things and see what wizards, like what kind of personality do these things have? Just in general, what kind of things could could you stereotypically say about these different types of dragons that you can kind of think about whenever you're starting to think about what kind of dragon you want to use? Of course, you can take any of these personality traits. Right now, green dragons I know are stereotypically evil and stuff. Right now, one of the patrons, or one of the warlocks in my game's patron, is a green dragon who's actually good alignment. So again, you can do whatever you want, do your thing. But I was super impressed with this, y'all. It was, hey, dragon turtles. They have dragon turtles in here as part of this thing. I was not expecting to get a resource on dragon turtles, right? That was not something that I was thinking I was going to get my hands on. But it just keeps going. Emerald dragons, fairy dragons, shadow dragons, crystal dragons, sapphire dragons. It's topaz. That was a new one. I've never even thought of a topaz dragon. So I thought it was absolutely awesome. And then in the back of this book, you have every single dragon stat block, which is, I expected that one. But that's going to be awesome to give the full spectrum of dragons and a bunch of tools to be able to customize. But on top of all those stat blocks, you have a ton of tools in this book to get the role play and personality of the dragon, the goals of the dragon that connect to your story, and then things of your story, how to get adventure hooks of how to hook these different types of dragons into your campaign, or make an entire campaign of nothing but dragons and take those dragons, give them new, cool, and unique features and that affect the area around them and the magic items that are in their layers. You see how this whole thing's connected? I have never been more impressed by a book, right? This book's a 5 out of 5 for me. Yes, I know I'm a positive, optimistic person, so you can take the 5 for whatever it is. But if you are interested in ever putting a dragon into your game, Fizbans is the book for you. This is the kind of books I want to see from Wizards. These specific things. I thought Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I feel like I would love to see a Feywild version of a book. Right now, I know Wild Beyond the Witchlight was an adventure, and the next book that's going to come out is going to be, there's some adventures coming out. But I love these type of resource books to be able to take a certain thing and then just dial it to 10. So I want a Feywild book. I want a Shadowfell book. I want one for each of the planes. I have done this with Limbo, and I plan on doing it with other planes and other things that on my website and stuff like that. But I love thematic books because now dragons, I feel so empowered as a dungeon master to go out there and create some amazing dragons. I'm probably going to force one into my campaign in some way on top of the one I already did. But comment down below, let me know what you think of this. If you want to see more videos like this from me, and again, if it hits that likes and all that kind of stuff, I will make a whole thing on dragons to answer that solution of me feeling like there's just a gap in not having a specifically my bias is, like, my player has a warlock patron as a dragon. I would put that subclass into this into the game, into a PDF. I think there's so many things that dragons can be a part of. I'm super excited to share this book with you guys, and check out this alternate cover. All the stuff, I mean, all the dragon art in this thing was super awesome as well. So if this book doesn't even feel like, it looks just like, it looks ancient, I don't know. But anyway, I hope you guys like it. Let me know what you think down below. I want to keep making these videos as long as you keep liking them. So until next time, stay creative, think outside that box. Peace.